Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Philly Pulse, your city's sports beat. I'm your host, Joe Staszak, co-host Sean Lochner. Back to the days where it was just the
I
two of
know,
us.
right? Just the two of us before we became a foursome.
Mike is on some covert operation in Bethesda, Maryland. We don't
He's searching for a car or something like
right.
that.
Who
Izzy's in
knows?
Class,
He'll
battling
be
strep throat. And Izzy, when you cut this up, we're all hoping you feel better. So yeah.
He'll be back next week. Izzy is back in school, but she again, it's a vital part of our post-production. And we have a special guest today, former colleague of mine. I know you're a big fan of his, Sean. He's on WIP now, and his name is Rob Ellis, godson of former Eagles general manager Jim Murray, who passed away a few days ago, unfortunately. And there he is, Big Robbie Ellis. What's up, buddy? How you doing,
My
my
man,
man? How are
going on,
you?
brother?
Good
Rob,
to see
what's
you.
up?
That's
Yo,
Sean Lochner, obviously, Rob Ellis. How you doing,
Yeah.
my friend? We appreciate you joining the show, man. We were just talking
pleasure.
to talk a little bit about your godfather, former
Mhm.
godfather, Jim Murray. First of all, how did that happen? How did he become your godfather, former Eagles
So,
general manager?
yeah, good to be with you guys, man. I appreciate you having me,
Too,
first of
bud.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jim and my dad grew up together. They were literally next door neighbors on Brooklyn Street in West Philly back in the day, and had a lifelong friendship to the point where he was my godfather, his son Brian, my dad was his godfather. So even though we weren't blood, we always considered each other cousins and uncle. You know how that works.
Of course.
It's a
I think
typical
it's a Philly
Philadelphian.
thing.
It's
Yes.
a
It's
Philly
very
thing. It's a
Philly.
Philly
It's
thing.
either what parish are you from, or you get the
Right.
cousins and the uncles and all
Mom
that.
and pop up.
100%,
He was
100%.
West Catholic graduate. You're Mount Senior Bonner, and
Yes,
it's all
we
commingled
got the
down
whole
there.
Catholic League covered, Joe. You know how that works.
Yeah, of course. Well, sorry to hear about the passing of Jim Murray. What do you remember about him? And obviously, he was became the general manager of the Eagles in 1974 after starting in PR there, and pretty much led them to their first Super Bowl appearance in '80.
Yeah, I think because he had such a diversified life that just to talk about the sports piece of this thing, gets a little bit underplayed. I mean, he steps in 74 and they're horrible. I mean, the
Oh, they were
Eagles are just
bad.
terrible. Joe. I mean, during that era, really from 60 till 78, they were a laughing stock. And he steps in. They don't have a quarterback really. Roman Gabriel's at the end. They don't yet have Berge, and most importantly, they don't have a coach. And Vermeil wins the Rose Bowl, upsets Ohio State. Like at that point was one of the big upsets we've ever seen in Rose Bowl history. He and Leonard Toes fly out to California and try to woo Dick Vermeil. And Dick Vermeil's saying, "Wait, you want me to go where? Philadelphia with that bad team? Like I got it set up for years here at UCLA, and it's
Right.
Right.
funny, and I got the beach right there. What are we doing here?" So he shoots them down, and politely, certainly as you would expect from Dick Vermeil, classy,
Total
but
class.
yeah, just thanks, no thanks. And Jimmy won't take no for an answer. So he follows up. Vermeil again. Jim, thanks. Blah, blah, blah. Follows up again. Yeah, Jimmy, I don't know what to tell you. But something he said to him clicked because then Vermeil calls back and says, "All right, let's talk." And Jimmy says to him basically, if you go there and you win, you will go down in history in that town. You will be a beloved figure until you draw your last breath. And guys, prophetic, right? 50 years later, and he hasn't coached the Eagles in 40 years, and he's still on billboards here.
Still
So it
is.
was one of the all-time coups to get Dick Vermeil for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So again, Rob, thank you so much for coming on. I joke with that guy sitting over there, Joe. I'm born and raised here. I left the Philadelphia area for about 15 years. Was living in Minnesota during the Super Bowl,
Mm.
and you guys were. You made it feel like Philadelphia every single time that I turned the radio on. I couldn't stand listening to Joe, but for some reason I always listened to him. I hated him, but I always loved you. So I just needed to make sure that I told you that
That's good.
because you
Howard
More of
you
Stern
that.
got me
syndrome.
through.
Sean, I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
I love you,
More of it.
bud.
Thank you. Thank you.
um,
No, but that's the ultimate compliment, right? Like when people say either you got me through something, or I was
Mhm.
away, or you had a terrible day at work. You gave me a half hour in the car where I escaped. Like that makes it all worth it.
Oh,
Honestly, man, it
yeah,
really does.
it does. It
He's
does.
right
I
about
mean,
that.
yeah, it really is. But before I get into more about that, what did Jim teach you about leadership, legacy, and how to show up for people?
It's a really good question because his life was about service to others. It was selfless. It was about giving. It was what can I do for you, not what can you do for me. And he really lived it. Like this wasn't one of these situations where you guys know some people are just like, hey, what can I do? And then oh, well, actually, I do need this, and you ever hear from them again, right?
Right.
He was one of those people who would follow up, would contact somebody else on your behalf, would show up at your house if he knew you were going through some things, would invite you out to dinner if you knew you were having a tough time. It was real stuff, and into his house. I mean, he there would be you'd go over there and you'd say, oh, who's that? Well, Jimmy met him the other day and he was down on his luck, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's been he's staying there for the next 2 weeks till he gets some shelter or whatever. Like all of those kind of things are real, and the to have the sort of forethought that he had when Fred Hill, who was an Eagles tight end, his daughter Kim had leukemia, to sort of put this thing together, and through Eagles Fly for Leukemia
Ronald
and
McDonald House.
the Shamrock Shakes and all that, that turns into a global charitable organization. And think about it, it's unique because when you think of a sick child, you think, all right, how are we going to help the sick child, with their meds and whatever. You don't think about the families who live in some small town that maybe don't have a Philadelphia chop, right? And what are they going to do? Well, what they did for a long time was got the kind of, the kind of medical help that really didn't do enough. With Ronald McDonald House, you could fly the person in from Atlanta. You could fly the person in from Minnesota, the person from Iowa. And all of a sudden, they're getting the kind of treatment that their child has to get. And they're not worried about paying for a hotel, flying there, getting to the hospital, food while you're there, because you're going through enough trauma at that time. And that is the legacy. Look, the Eagle stuff we love. Of course, we love that. We
Sure.
love the history. That's what we do. We're sports guys. But the legacy of the Ronald McDonald House will live on eternally. Eternally. Jim's gone in some sense, but he will never be gone because that is what carries on. That's what a legacy is. And that's exactly who he was.
I had the opportunity to, as a freelance, I was a cameraman a long time ago, do a shoot at Ronald McDonald House over in Jersey, and I got to see it firsthand. It was an amazing experience. Had a live singer named Liv. She actually had a Christmas hit that my kids still listen to today. It was just a great experience. It kind of opened my eyes to, wow, what an idea, taking care of the parents and giving them a place, and
Yep.
while they're dealing with so much other stuff, it's just unimaginable. It's unbelievable that Jimmy had the foresight and the heart to kind of see that and bring it to fruition. It's an amazing thing they do at Ronald McDonald House. Rob, we had a former colleague of ours on today because I do a subsidiary of a different podcast for
Sure.
my coaching business. But Jason Martinez was on, and now
Yeah.
he writes for Crossing Broad once a week, and he did a whole thing. I don't know if you saw it or read the article about kind of like the advent of sports talk radio and then where
Yeah.
it is today. And you've been there for many of those years. I mean, I think I met you starting with Daily News Live. I was an editor at
Yes.
Don Dorado. I forget if you replaced
I
Don.
was there. I was there. I loved Don. Yeah.
Yeah,
Best
Don.
show ever.
Yeah,
I
Best
loved it, man. Yeah,
show. I
I was
missed it.
fortunate enough. I produced it from 2000 to 2010. So I bit a nice chunk out of that apple, man.
I used
that's
to,
a big chunk, bro.
Yeah.
I remember running home from work just to watch that. 5 o'clock came on. I was like, woo.
Yeah. Props to Michael Barkan, who is a brilliant host, an
Brilliant
absolute
host.
flat
Still,
out.
he's still doing
Still.
the post game. Like
Yep.
when I watch, it wouldn't be the same without Michael.
No.
Good dude, too.
Hasn't lost anything off his fastball, Joe.
Right, right. Still bringing the
Yeah.
heat. I
Yep.
Mhm.
enjoyed working. Just a good dude. But
Yep.
your thoughts? Because Jason got into. It's not quite the same. It's a lot, and he went through. Look, he was there almost since the beginning with Mike
Yep.
Missinelli way back, WIP, and how it is today. And he talked about manufacturing opinions to kind of like almost clickbait-ish these days in sports talk radio, just so it doesn't get old, it doesn't get stagnant. But to me, that kind of it loses its credibility. What do you think of? And you're still in the mix with,
Yeah.
and I know you don't manufacture and you're as authentic as they come. But what do you think of that? I'm not asking
Yeah.
you to call out any of your colleagues, but just in
Oh,
terms
no, I
of
won't call.
environment.
Yeah. In just in general terms. And I appreciate that, Joe. Thanks. But, I find it utterly disingenuous. I will never do it. I have never done it. I would rather fail. I'd rather be tossed out on my ear than do it. Because you're lying. I mean,
Right.
you are. I mean, we could call it hot take. We call it whatever we bits. We could call it
Mhm.
whatever we want. It's not how you feel. Like I've never ever sat down either if I'm doing a solo show or I have a co-host, whatever, or with a producer and said, you know what? I'm going to say Saquon Barkley sucks today because I know that's going to
Right.
light the phones up
Because
and I'm
the
going to
phone
get
lines
fired.
will light up.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I won't do it. I won't do it. Number one, it's my name. Okay. And I can't understand. And look, I understand our society's become TMZ-sized and social media has whacked everybody out of their mind in a lot of ways. But it's to me, and maybe it's because I've done it for so long on, from the other side of it. But if I'm a listener, it's so transparent and obvious that I'm out. As soon as I hear that kind of garbage, I'm out.
I'm done.
And
It's the same.
I hate it. I hate that that's what it's become. Like, just think about it, guys. Just put it in perspective. We have an Eagles team that just won a Super Bowl. They're second in 8 years. We have a Phillies team that, yeah, we get frustrated at times, whatever. They've been a perennial playoff team for the last 3-4 years. There's enough to talk about, man, where we
Mhm.
don't have to make up garbage. We don't have to bury Jalen Hurts. We don't have to do this kind of stuff. And I really loathe that that's where it's gone. I hope and pray that it comes back. And I understand you don't want somebody sitting on there, reading stats off. 235. No, I get that that's boring. I understand that. But there's ways to do it where you don't have to be a fake and BS people. And I don't like it. And I saw Jason's story, and he hit on a lot of really good points because he's lived it as a host and a programmer as well. And it has gone that way. And it's really picked up steam the last 7 years. And I'll be frank with you. It's hurt me in my career that I won't do that. I won't. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm with you. And I think it's too bad. And I only hope like that you have to get creative when your teams suck. In 2015, when everybody was bad and Chip Kelly was at the end and the Phillies were, whatever. And you have to get creative, but you don't have to lie to people and go on
Right.
there and say things you don't believe. And I think that's the line that we've blurred in a big way.
Right. No, for sure. Absolutely. I was telling Joe before we got on the air, Rob, about your story taking your daughter down to college and your way back with the guy
Great
from
story.
Berwyn.
Yeah.
And I mean, I work at a bakery part-time on the weekends. And I mean, just you and Mike, that story, I had my earbud in and I was laughing hysterically. And people I work with, they're like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I had to go into the other room. But I think it just shows like if you were that like hot take individual, it would have been a whole and different kind of interaction, I'm sure, at that gas station. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's what I always look for. I think the Glenn McNows of the day, Ray Didinger, it's just more personable and it's just more like it's just a breath of fresh air.
Well, I think you guys can relate to this because we were sports fans long before we started doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I was just a listener or a viewer, whether it was TV or radio, before everything became digital and streaming and all that, I'm just referring to that, but it still applies now, even all these fields. I wanted a host who was entertaining, who was knowledgeable, who was funny, who could keep me engaged. And I tune in for the host. Like, I don't need to hear the same bad call 78 times. It's not to say you don't appreciate the callers. Obviously, I told that story because of how much I appreciated this guy. It was such a cool connection and it's so great. But, I think we've gotten away from that too. Like, and some of it is laziness on the host's part where, they're just going to either hot take or they're going to take a zillion calls because they're not prepared or they don't really have anything interesting to say. They didn't do their homework. Like, and that's, I think, where we get ourselves in trouble a little bit. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
Robbie, let's get to some nuts and bolts. You mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I love this topic, and I get why. Listen, we do this, but deep down, I mean, I bleed green and silver, and you two do as well. But I know when the lists come out and it stirs up, they get the knee-jerk reaction. Why is our guy getting disrespected? Why is it blah blah blah? To me, it's almost laughable because I don't really care what anyone says about my guy. I just like him when he holds that silver
Mhm.
trophy with the football, at the end of the
Oh, that
year. Like,
thing. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
cool with that. Like
Yeah.
to me, I wrote an article. I said, guys, you got it all wrong. If you're an Eagles fan, keep burying him.
Was.
He
Yeah.
thrives off of it. He lives for
Yeah.
making,
It's
fielding
fuel.
the critics
You're
wrong.
feeding him. You're giving him
ESPN.
air. That's what you're doing.
Right. But seriously, like, how do you come out with Jalen Hurts, 38th best player in the league? He was 6 spots behind last year. He was 32nd. And
Yeah.
then this is what I really love. Lamar Jackson was fourth. Hey, wake me up. If you like video game highlights, great. Wake me up when he wins a playoff game. And then Josh Allen, whose efforts are noble, but as long as he's playing behind Dracula at the helm of the Chiefs, he might not sniff the Super Bowl. I'm okay with my guy. Make him 107th for all I care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why doesn't he get that respect, you
All
think?
right. Let's go on the premise that people are trying to be legitimate. They're not just trolling. Just for kicks, let's do that for a second. Okay. We're coming at it from a real place. So if you're coming at it from a real place, here's the mistake that I think people make with Jalen Hurts. They want what they think a quarterback should be. Like Herbert looks the part,
Yeah.
right? 6'4", howitzer for an arm, can throw it through a haystack, all that stuff, right? That's what he is. Okay. You look at him and you think, oh my God, that's what a quarterback should look like. We have moved the goalpost when it comes to Jalen a million times. So people will say, oh, he threw 18 touchdowns. That's not that good. Oh, how many did he run in? I'm sorry. Do they count less when you run him in than when you throw him in? All we ever want out of our athletes is to come up big in the clutch. So people all year said, well, of course he's doing that. He's got Jalen Hurts. Or I'm sorry, he's got Saquon Barkley. Well, we get to a Super Bowl and Steve Spagnuolo says, guess what? It ain't going to be you today, Saquon. We're taking you out at all costs. Okay. Then the guy just delivers daggers left and right. Mm-hmm. And does that count now? Does it count when they take Saquon out of it? Does it count when he puts a 90 spot up in an NFC championship game in a Super Bowl? And this is the stuff that drives me bananas because for years, we killed McNabb. We killed other guys because they didn't come up big in the biggest of moments. Joel Embiid, right? Whatever, whoever you want to lump in any sport, we killed them. This guy rises to the occasion every single time. I say it all the time. He's not a shooter. He's not Klay Thompson or Steph Curry. He's a scorer. He's Iverson. It doesn't matter how he gets it into the end zone. He gets it in the end zone. So I think that's what it is. I think there's still a little bit of prejudice against like what the prototype quarterback is versus what Jalen does. But not to mention, last thing I'll say on this, guys, you got me going, Joe.
We like it.
I'll say on this is, with the RPO, he's got to make the decision at times to give it to Saquon based off of what he sees.
Sure.
So he's essentially calling that play and dialing up the right play. He's also selfless enough where he doesn't have to throw the ball 40 freaking times. And he's okay with that, where other guys would want numbers. He doesn't care about numbers. The only number he cares about is who won the Super Bowl. And he should be everything that you want. Instead, there's a level of disrespect. It's not the majority, but it's a vocal minority from people. And I don't get it. And careful what you wish for, man, because when he's gone, you're gonna realize it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well said. Well said, Rob. Sean, I know you wanted to ask Rob about.
Yes. I speaking of Iverson, I got a question for you. So they unveiled the old Iverson era court today. So do you think this is a feel of genuine fan service or a distraction from last season's collapse, or what is about to come for this team this year?
Both. Both. So I'll answer the first part. I do think you're hitting like sweet spot people who grew up on the 2001 team and Iverson and that, you know what I mean? Like they're paying customers now. They're not just with their mom and dad, whatever. That's now 24 years, crazy, 24, 25 years ago. So, those people, that's what they grew up on, that color scheme, that jersey, that court, whatever. think there's that, but yeah, I mean, let's not kid ourselves, man. The Sixers have been a disaster area on so many different levels that you need any good pub, good press you can get. And if that's gonna, because I think, guys, this is the year where the unconditional love went out the window with the Sixers. It was, hey, there's a purpose for the process, for this process, purpose for the losing. Okay, I'll buy in, blah, 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 blah. And the payoff hasn't even been close. In fact, all they do is aggravate you. So I think this year is the year where people are just like, dude, enough. Fool me once, twice, three times, shame on me. Now it's on you. I'm not fooling for the banana in the tailpipe again. You're not going to get me again. You're going to tell me now Embiid's going to stay on the court for 70 games. Please give me a break.
I love how we were breaking down like how many back-to-backs that are coming up.
Oh, please, please. I'll tell you, if I was setting an over under, I'd go like high 30s, low 40s. Oof. And that might be optimistic. And by the way, Paul George isn't starting the year either.
Exactly.
So, on top of it. But I think they realize they got to pull out any stop that they can pull out, whether that's the color scheme, whether that's AI or, Julius Erving at courtside, whatever you want to roll out, because people have had it with them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, we don't want to hold you too long, Rob. It's just been
no, I'm good.
Tremendous.
By the way, Joe, your background, dude.
No, don't even get me started.
Oh, come on, man. That's
straight out of Top Gun. Tom Cruise is jealous, man. Come on.
That's my. I used to have different background. I'm just keeping one.
I love it, dude. I love it. You can never change that ever. Don't ever change that, please.
He's got the hoagie wrapper that from that 4-month-old hoagie that I ate at 97.5 Fanatic somewhere in one of those.
Hey, that got me through some tough Sundays. That got me through some tough Sundays. Brother, appreciate it, Rob. But before I let you go, I got to talk a little Phillies. Okay, they have problems at Citi Field. I get it. And Wheeler's, okay, their ace, who's been great in the postseason and the regular season the last couple years, not coming back anytime soon this year. Can the Phillies still get it done this year?
Yes. Yeah, I truly believe that, guys.
Same.
Look, their starting pitching still pretty darn good. I know right now we're in the midst of just 2 horrible games. I understand that with the Mets series, but when you're able to put Sanchez out there, who has really become an ace, Ranger, who has done it time and again in the playoffs, there's a little bit of hope here, but you got to hope Luzardo gives you a good Luzardo performance. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Nola, at least in his last start, looked more like Aaron Nola. If you're running those 3-4 out there, there aren't a lot of teams that have that kind of firepower, that kind of volume of depth, right? And again, I know Duran had a tough game last night, whatever. The back end of the bullpen is a lot more settled in. So I think from a pitching standpoint, you're good. And really what it comes down to, guys, is your stars have to be your stars. And we know that. If those guys don't deliver, if it's a bad Bryce, bad Schwarber, bad Turner, likely they're dead. However, JT has been hitting since June, not since August, since June. You've gotten help from other places now. Bader's helped them. I know everybody kind of poo-pooed the move, but he's helped them. And you're getting some balance now. Stott has been better. I'm not going to tell you he's been great. He's been a little bit better, but he's a phenomenal fielder. There's a lot there. And I don't think anybody's unbeatable. I know we're all trained to go Dodgers. I get it. But nobody's unbeatable. And the Brewers have to show me they can do it in the playoffs. We'll see. They've had a great regular season, taking nothing away from them. But I just don't – I think this thing is up for grabs. And I do put some stock in, have gotten close a bunch of times, know it's going to look different next year, know some of your friends aren't going to be playing here next year. So, you can only get close so many times, man, and you got to be able to finish the job. There's got to be urgency there. And if any city has seen a superstar go and a team still perform, it's this city. Need I say more? Carson Wentz, yep. Jason Peters, Jordan Hicks, Darren Sproles, and you still beat the 2 GOATs head-to-head. So it's doable. Yeah, would you love to have Wheeler? Of course. That's a big blow. But I think these guys realize we need to step our game up in lieu of him.
Real quick, I want to give you a
Rob must have read my Substack article about Zack Wheeler.
Before Sean gets into one more, I want to ask you a follow because you mentioned guys that might not be on the bench with you next year. Kyle Schwarber's having a money year, and I love what he did at the All-Star game, but I'm thinking, oh, Christ, his price just went up. And I thought the Reds, I kind of chuckled at them giving him the key to the city when he was there. He grew up an hour outside of Cincinnati, 32 years old, probably his last contract. They're going to have to back up the truck. Did the Phillies sign him next year?
I think they do, Joe. But what you see with this situation, Howie Roseman would never let this happen. He would never let this happen. This would have been done
Great point.
last offseason, last year at some point. And all you've done is allow this to grow. It was a calculated mistake by the Phillies. Now, look, if Schwarber and his agent were saying, we want $100 million per year, I get it. There's a line you have to draw. I understand that. I don't think that was the case. So, from his leadership, the fact that he's become a way better hitter as the years have gone on, the fact that he's a DH and he's not, getting beat up in the field, I don't worry about him at 35. I don't. So I would have no problem giving him 3 years. I really wouldn't. I think it's minimum 3 years, 90 million minimum. And I'm probably going cheap here because you're going to have other suitors lining up.
Sure.
I think he's back. JT's made himself some money, man, of late.
He has. He certainly has. We all thought he was going to be an easy signing, but
yeah. I think the odd man out is Ranger, and it's going to hurt because we know when he gets on runs, he is almost unhittable, but A, he doesn't necessarily stay healthy, and B, he can kind of drift sometimes. And I just think they view Painter as the succession plan. You're already paying Nola, you're already paying Wheeler, who hopefully will be back to start next year. And then you still have actually Taijuan Walker another year. There's a lot of contingency plans in place where I think that's the one that is most likely to go, I would say.
Sean, you got anything left?
Yeah, I got one last question for you, Rob. I need you to build your dream Philly sports panel, past or present. Who's sharing the mic with you?
Oh my God. Besides you two, I have to exclude you for show purposes. Ray Didinger, my guy, the Diddy. Have to go with Ray.
Gospel, of course.
Yeah, and the thing is with Ray, it's not just Eagles knowledge. People think it's just Eagles. It's not. It's everything. He's a walking historian, and he's funny. There's so many. You guys know the Christy Brinkley story.
I was just about to say it. Yes,
it's the greatest story ever.
You can tell the story because the audience might.
Right, I'll give you the cliff note real quick. Yeah. All right, Ray is covering Duran and Leonard. Okay, back in the day, I think it was in New Orleans. I think. Forgive me if I'm getting a little bit of details fuzzy. And Christy Brinkley, this is brilliant, by the way. It was probably Don King or some other promoter, hired her as the photographer. So she's there to take pictures, of the boxing match, right? And they're training and all this other stuff. So they're there in the lead up. It's during the week before the fight. It's like a random Wednesday or whatever. And she's there. She sees Ray's taking all his notes with his notepad, of course, doing Ray things. And she moseys over to Ray and says, I don't know a lot about boxing. I'm just wondering if you had some time, maybe we could grab some lunch and I could just sort of pick your brain a little bit. This is prime Christy Brinkley too, guys. Like this, like 81 or what? This is like Vacation, the first Vacation. Okay. So Ray, because he has a deadline to meet for a story he's writing, shoots her down. He said no to Christy Brinkley because of a deadline.
Hey, Ray.
I know.
I admire the work ethic, but
and you want to hear the kicker? Here's the kicker. His editor back at the I think he was with the Bulletin at the time. This is even pre-Daily News, right?
All the news
says to him,
they print.
He says, Ray, are you nuts? Screw the deadline, dude. It was Christy Brinkley. All right. So anyway, I would go Ray. I got to come out of the shoot with Ray because Ray's so much fun to do. I love doing the show with Mike Sealski. Mike and I are very sort of simpatico with the way that we view things and think about things. He's always a lot of fun. I'd probably go like old school. If I had to incorporate a writer that I loved growing up, it was Bill Lyon, who was just I thought
great. I loved reading
so
his
I kind of
articles.
gave you a little mix. Yeah.
Tremendous, tremendous. I got it. We're gonna say goodbye, but
I'm good. Whatever you got. Yeah.
you did, Robbie. You did. I always admired this about you. You were doing. I don't know why I forget the name. It was with Barrett Brooks. And morning, good morning.
Oh, Breakfast on Broad.
Breakfast
Yep.
on Broad, right? And then you also got hired to do full time at 97.5.
Yes. Did middays.
So I was
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ, how he's up. I'm watching him on TV. Then I'm going in for my shift, and I looked over one time. They were taking a nap in the car. I'm like, I don't blame him. He's freaking
Joe,
on all the time, all the time. Like,
I would not
how
be
did you
standing
juggle
here.
those two? That I remember
Yeah.
thinking, well, I want to take a nap just thinking about all the airtime he does, and because it does take a lot out of you to speak, to prepare,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
on. How did you do that? How did you juggle both of those?
It was crazy. We had a 4 a.m. rundown meeting for the TV show. So I would get up at 1:30. I would leave the house. I would go through it was a 2-hour show, 2-hour TV show, and go through the rundown. And I talk to the producer and blah, blah, blah. We go all that. We do the show. I'd hop in the car. I'd fly from South Philly to Bala Cynwyd, which you guys know is an ugly ride on 76. It's horrible. And get there just in time. And if I had 10 minutes, you're exact, Joe, to a T, you were not lying. I'd set my alarm and I'd sleep for 10 minutes. I called them parking lot naps is what I would do. But it was so unhealthy. Like I would literally, it would be the dead of winter and snow would be coming in and I'd have every window down when I was driving just to beat me in the face because I would fall asleep. I was a disaster. Like if both shows held up, I wouldn't be standing here.
I don't know how you did it as long as you did, like, and you didn't sound any worse for the wear on the air because I'd be driving home like, he sounds great. Like, I'm like, after like 2 hours, I'm like,
you're fried. Like you guys know when you finish doing a show, it's hard to explain to people because you're not like doing manual labor.
Right.
But when you finish doing a show, you're exhausted because you have to be on every second. You're not like at a cubicle hiding, for a little while where you can't. Like you got to be on. And you're just drained. Yeah. It was crazy. It was fun. Sure. But I definitely couldn't do it again.
Well, good stuff, my man. We really appreciate you coming. I feel so much smarter now. I mean, I really having this half hour with you, buddy. We really appreciate it, Robbie.
Yes, we do,
Rob. I love you guys, man.
We love you, man.
Anytime you need me, let me know.
That's great, Rob. Thank you.
We'll catch you.
All right, fellas. You guys have a great one. Thanks.
Yeah, you as well.
Take care, boys.
You too.
Is he not the best or what?
He's just
tremendous.
It's like we just called into a show.
I know he works.
He does.
He works a full-time job, but he sounds just like he does on the That's what he brings.
Yeah. And Christy Brinkley. It was so funny when he mentioned Rob mentioned Dinger. I was like, oh my gosh,
I love it,
Christy Brinkley, and I'm so glad he brought it up because it was
good stuff. Good questions, awesome. And we'll post this. We'll send it to our post-production experts down in Gainesville, and then we'll kick.
Hopefully, Micah is finding the car that he's looking for, or whatever it is.
Whatever he's doing. All right, bud. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it, and well, obviously, I'll talk to you during the week, but a lot of big college games this weekend. And then, of course, what is it, 9 days away, 8 days away?
Big day. They already got the banner waiting up. It's hidden right now. I mean, it's
so excited. Can't get here fast enough. Eagles and Cowboys next Thursday night. Great stuff, bud. And appreciate you watching, folks. And we'll catch you next week.
Take care, guys.